I love it. I love it. Wow. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey my homies, what's poppin', man? Let's go. Hermansson taking on Strickland, another UFC card to break down. UFC 270 was a pretty decent card for betting. The only mistake I really made was I was playing like a smaller unit size. You know, sometimes we think I'm gonna go a bit lighter on this one and we smash that card. And sometimes we go heavy and it's not a good time to go heavy, but yeah, there's another UFC card to break down. As always, my homies, make sure you smash that like button. Alright, let's go. Alright, so starting off this card, we've got a matchup between Alexis Davis taking on Julija Stoliarenko. Guys, I'm not going to say that I'm hyped up for this matchup, because if I say that, I know like 90% of people watching this video are going to be like,
"Not the cap."
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, we got a matchup between Alexis Davis taking on Stoliarenko. Alright, so starting off with Alexis Davis. Alexis has been inside the UFC for quite a few years, but at no point in Alexis Davis' UFC career have I ever been like high on this girl. Do you know what I'm saying? Her striking defense, you know, it's not good. It's no bueno. But then you kind of ask yourself, even though her striking defense isn't the best, is Julija Stoliarenko going to tee off on her? So you've got a fighter that has pretty bad striking defense, but then the opponent isn't someone who's going to show that. Maybe she shows it a little bit here and there, but is she going to show it enough to the point where she beats Alexis Davis from a striking standpoint? I know Stoliarenko's only had 2 UFC fights at the moment, but guys, if you look at the matchup between Julia Avila taking on Stoliarenko, if you go back and watch that fight, you know, it's quite clear to see that Stoliarenko doesn't really want to trade on the feet. You know, watch the first 60 seconds of round 1. Stoliarenko's mainly trying to kick Julia Avila. Man, I remember one time when Dan Hardy said there's games inside of games. You know, because ultimately when you get inside the octagon, you're playing a game. It's like a chess match. But even inside that chess match, there's games inside of games. And what you see from Julia Avila against Stoliarenko, or at least what I feel like I see, Julia Avila's kind of watching Stoliarenko inside that first 60 seconds, and Stoliarenko's just offering kicks. But then Julia Avila decides, towards the end of that first 60 seconds, she decides, I'm going to put a flurry on this girl, I'm going to throw some hands. And what she basically learned in that first flurry is Julia Stoliarenko doesn't want to throw the hands. So yeah, man, when you step inside the octagon, you're trying to make reads, you're trying to receive information. You know, there's games being played inside of games. So maybe Alexis Davis can, you know, start to get her boxing going. If the fight's staying in a striking battle. You know, Stoliarenko may be able to land her kicks, but you've got to remember Alexis Davis also kicked Sabina Mazo. You know, she was landing that calf kick over and over. And I know Alexis Davis kind of got boxed up by Pani Kianzad, but, you know, she landed that calf kick a few times. So ultimately, guys, I think Alexis Davis is maybe the more superior striker, not by a lot. Maybe just, you know, more experienced there. If Stoliarenko wants to win this matchup, maybe take the fight to the mat. But again, you know, Alexis Davis a pretty decent grappler. So yeah, my prediction's going to be Alexis Davis. But yeah, I'm not excited for this matchup, guys. But yeah, that's going to be my prediction. And my numbers, I'm going to say Alexis Davis around 60%, 6 times out of 10. So yeah, minus 150. And the actual betting line, you've got Alexis Davis minus 220, which is 7 times out of 10. So yeah, I agree with the bookies that she should be the favourite. But the percentage, yeah, I'm not going to be betting this one. Alright guys, we've got a matchup between Sam Alvey taking on Phil Hawes. Guys, I got to be honest, I was kind of thinking that Sam Alvey could win this fight. And maybe he does, you know. But I'm not going to make that prediction. I'm not going to do it. I think Sam Alvey always looks the same. You know, always putting himself against the fence. Never aggressive. Always fighting from like a defensive mindset. Which is, you know, something you can't really do inside the UFC. If you have your opponent hurt, you've got to go forward. You know, Sam Alvey will land a nice counter shot and then he'll start backpedaling. It makes no sense. And the reason why I was thinking that Sam Alvey could maybe win this fight is simply because he's got a lot of experience in the UFC, you know. He's been around for a long time. But but experience doesn't really win you the fight. You've got to go win the fight. And Sam Alvey doesn't really look like he's doing that anymore. The last time I picked Sam Alvey to win a fight was against Lil Nog, which was basically the start of his losing streak, you know. He hasn't won a fight since that fight. Phil Hawes kind of got dusted by Chris Curtis. But you've got to remember, guys, until that moment happened, Phil Hawes was looking great. He was looking brilliant. You know, one weapon that I really liked from Phil Hawes was the body kick. That body kick was money. So yeah, even though he got dusted by Chris Curtis at the end of round 1, for the whole of round 1, you know, Phil Hawes looking great. So unless Sam Alvey can come into this fight and show us, look, I'm not going to put myself against the fence. I'm going to be aggressive. You know, if Sam Alvey can show us a little bit more and get this win, you know, I give him all the credit. But I kind of think that Phil Hawes is going to keep him on the back foot, and those body kicks, those low kicks, they're gonna land. And if they start to land, you know, that kind of opens up that knockout shot. And Sam Alvey will most likely be trying to counter off that shot, try to find his knockout. But as we can see with Sam Alvey, it hasn't been working. You know, that counter, that smiling counter hasn't come. So if Sam Alvey can't find that knockout punch and his fighting tactics look similar, where he's always backing up, then Phil Hawes is most likely going to be winning a decision, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, guys, my prediction's going to be Phil Hawes. I'm going to say Sam Alvey continues to lose. But we do need to check the betting line. I'd put Phil Hawes at least a -200. And the bookies have Phil Hawes -300. Yeah, I just think the bookies are trying to catch people betting against Sam Alvey, you know. If Sam Alvey can win this fight and you're laying over -300, that's where the bookies make their money. So yeah, I think the betting line's a little bit off on this one. Alright, we got a matchup between Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Carlston Harris. Man, now this is the type of matchup that I'm looking forward to. You know, this is the type of matchup I'm going to get hyped. And the reasons why we're going to get hyped on this one: Shavkat Rakhmonov, this guy is a prospect. You know, you look at what he's doing in his first 2 UFC fights, you know, this guy's looking good. You know, pulling guard with the guillotine against Alex Oliveira as an underdog. You know, I love to see that. And then he absolutely dominated Michel Prazeres, you know, complete dusteration. So 2 times, you know, he's finished with that submission. So what you want to learn with this guy is don't let him slip the forearm underneath the chin. Because if this guy can take your neck, you know, there's going to be a submission. Not only is the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu pretty good with Shavkat Rakhmonov, this guy can strike. Now, Carlston Harris has looked good, man. He's looked good in the UFC. And this guy's a jiu-jitsu player. And when you see what he's doing to Impa Kasanganay, you know, dusting him on the feet, you know, you love to see it. It's good work from Carlston Harris. Now, even though I would probably say that Carlston Harris has better jiu-jitsu, even though I would say that, I'm not sure that he can out-wrestle Shavkat Rakhmonov. So yeah, if Carlston Harris can't really get his jiu-jitsu game going and he's left to strike with Shavkat, despite dusting Impa Kasanganay on the feet, despite doing that, I don't think his striking's good enough to stand with Shavkat. And to be honest, man, I might be underestimating Shavkat. You know, this guy might want to grapple with Carlston Harris, you know, just to show us again, look, I've got that sambo, I've got that wrestling, I've got the jiu-jitsu. You know, both of these guys have looked pretty good inside the UFC, and that's why I'm excited to see this one. But yeah, I'm going to roll with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Man, this guy's a prospect. I think he's going to be fighting for a title at some point. And if you think a fighter's going to be fighting for a title, you know, Cyril Gane, you're going to take them every time. You know, you're going to take them on that journey. So the prediction for me has to be Shavkat Rakhmonov. You know, if Carlston Harris can get this one done, I'm gonna be impressed. But I'm saying at least 8 times out of 10 for Shavkat. And maybe that's a little bit harsh, but again, man, I think this guy's gonna be fighting for a title at some point. So my numbers on Shavkat, I'm putting him around -400. And we've got -220, -250. Okay, I think there's some value on the Shavkat line. Alright guys, we got a matchup between Malcolm Gordon taking on Dennis Bondar. Man, I kind of think Dennis Bondar might be the real deal, you know, he might be. And that's not a 100% claim, a might claim, you know, he might be the real deal. Alright, let's start with Malcolm Gordon first. Malcolm Gordon has kind of been dusted a couple times in the UFC. But I want to speak specifically about his last fight because he won this fight. You know, this was against Francisco Figueiredo. Figueiredo is the little bro of Deiveson Figueiredo. He might be older than Deiveson, but that's still little bro, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Malcolm Gordon won this fight, and basically what he done to win was push a higher pace. Francisco Figueiredo is known for slowing down, and Malcolm Gordon just pushed a high pace. And you know, that was a smart thing to do from Malcolm Gordon, you know, he's playing the game, and it was a smart one. So what he done was wrestle, you know, just fatigued Francisco Figueiredo. But here's the problem, guys. Denis Bondar can fight at a higher pace. You know, this guy's octagon name is Psycho, and he looks a little bit like a psycho, man. This guy might be the real deal. So let's say Denis Bondar chooses to fight that type of fight where he wants to fatigue Malcolm Gordon, the way that Malcolm Gordon chose to do that against Francisco Figueiredo. If Denis Bondar chooses to do that, I think he's going to break Malcolm Gordon. And it's a weird thing, man, because Malcolm Gordon has success fighting at a high pace, and now he's got an opponent that might do that to him. So it's a bit of a weird thing. I believe the difference in this fight is going to be the level of wrestling, the level to fight at a high pace, the difference in scrambling, the difference between ending up on top, not being able to get up off the bottom. You know, I think all of this is for Denis Bondar. I think he's probably going to out-wrestle Malcolm Gordon. If I'm Malcolm Gordon, you know, I'm training hard for this fight. I'm trying to keep my cardio up because Denis Bondar looks like a well-rounded guy, you know, knees to the body, but the wrestling seems to be like the main thing from Denis Bondar. And that's what I kind of think happens here. I think Denis Bondar's going to do something similar to what Malcolm Gordon done to Francisco Figueiredo, and that's break the opponent. You know, when the opponent slows down, show him the door. I think Denis Bondar's going to do that here, so that's going to be my prediction. So like a submission round 2, round 3, maybe a ground and pound stoppage. But yeah, Denis Bondar, man, I'd say like 8 times out of 10, which is minus 400, but the bookies say minus 250 on Denis Bondar. So yeah, maybe a little bit of value in this line. But you do have to remember, guys, Denis Bondar is going to be making his UFC debut. But in my opinion, I don't care. I think he's going to break Malcolm Gordon. Hey guys, I'm excited for this matchup. If you watch The Ultimate Fighter, you might be excited for this fight. And to be honest, man, I didn't even watch The Ultimate Fighter when the shows were airing. But when it all finished, I went back and I had to watch it. And one of the best things about The Ultimate Fighter is, you know, you get to learn about these fighters more than just fighting, you know what I'm saying? And one thing about Tresean Gore, which maybe a lot of people don't like, is the ego. You know, this guy really believes in himself, you know, really speaking about he's the best, you know, he's going to make it look like a beautiful fight. And, you know, Bryan Ortega had to spar with him because Tresean Gore kept saying to Bryan Ortega, let's go, let's spar. And Bryan Ortega tried to humble him a little bit, but I like the ego, man. I like it. You know, a lot of times when these fighters are speaking a big game, most of the time the fans want to see these fighters get humbled, right? And the thing is, 99% of the time you get to see these fighters get humbled at some point. But you know, character development, it's all a part of the game. Unless you're Floyd Mayweather, you're going to get humbled at some point. So that's one thing I'm pretty excited about this matchup. Will Bryan Battle be the one to show Tresean Gore, look, you're going to take losses on the way, bro? It's an exciting matchup, man. I think Bryan Battle could win this fight if he takes Tresean Gore to the mat. Because, man, if this matchup stays in a kickboxing situation, you know, Tresean Gore always live for that KO. He's not the type of guy that's going to smack you with a lot of output. You know, it's pretty low output for Tresean Gore. You know, we've seen a lot of fighters like Tresean Gore. You know, Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, Alonzo Menefield, William Knight aren't going to smack you with a lot of output. But they're muscle bound, they're explosive fighters, you know, it's fight ending moments that they're offering. And with those types of fighters, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities, you have to pick your moments well. And Tresean Gore is pretty good at doing that, you know, he's quite composed in picking when. So I think if Bryan Battle wants to win this fight, maybe take the fight to the mat. Because even if you're beating Tresean Gore on output on the feet, you're beating him right up until you're not beating him. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm not sure Bryan Battle's going to be the type of guy to humble him from a striking standpoint. So yeah, man, this is a good matchup. I think, like I said, if Bryan Battle takes it to the mat, he's got a good chance. So yeah, it's always going to come down to what do I have to do to beat the opponent in front of me. Both of these fighters are going to have different tactics. I think Tresean Gore wants that knockout. My prediction, guys, I'm going to side with Tresean Gore. I like the ego. If he can keep this one striking, he's probably going to find that moment. Now, deciding the odds, how many times out of 10 would Tresean Gore find that moment compared to how many times would Bryan Battle potentially humble Tresean Gore on the feet or take him to the mat, you know, use the jiu-jitsu. It's a good matchup, man, so I'd say maybe Tresean Gore 6 times out of 10, which gives him the price tag -150 and the current line on Tresean Gore -130. So yeah, the bookies know. The bookies know this is a good matchup for both guys, really. But like I said, it's always going to come down to who can do what they have to do. If Bryan Battle tries to stand and kickbox with Tresean, you know, it might be a bad idea. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. Alright, we've got a matchup between Hakeem Dawodu taking on Mike Trizano. Man, this is a good matchup. You know, anytime you've got a matchup, man, instantly you're thinking about the styles of the two fighters. You know, you're trying to compare the styles against each other. And basically what you've got with this one is like Muay Thai versus boxing. Hakeem Dawodu being the Muay Thai striker, Mike Trizano being the boxer. You know, Mike Trizano did hit Luis Pena with like multiple calf kicks, but I don't think he's going to be doing that against a Muay Thai fighter. You know, Mike Trizano isn't going to look to kick Hakeem Dawodu. He's going to look to box. Hakeem Dawodu, on the flip side, he probably should look to kick the legs of Mike Trizano. You know, when you've got like a boxing heavy guy, anytime you can kick the legs, take away the base, you're taking away the boxing. So yeah, that's the two styles you've got against each other. You know, that's the game both guys have to play. Mike Trizano has to make the story all about the boxing. You know, similar to what Calvin Kattar did, you know, high pressure, boxing combinations. Now, that's not to say that Hakeem Dawodu can't knock you out. You know, this guy's got knockout power. But when I'm looking at who can pop the jab more often and find success with just fundamentals in boxing, that's going to be Mike Trizano. But I do like the striking of both guys. Hakeem Dawodu with the Muay Thai setting. Yeah, my prediction on this one, guys, I think it's going to be a good striking battle, but I'm going to lean with the Muay Thai fighter, Hakeem Dawodu. If he can take away the base, fire the kicks early, get the kicks going, then the knockout punches are going to come. I just think he's a little bit more dangerous of a striker. But that's not to say that if Mike Trizano can get the boxing going early and Hakeem isn't kicking, the fight could look pretty close. You know, it's a good matchup. My prediction's going to be Hakeem Dawodu, and I'd price him around -180. And the bookies have it that way. The bookies have got it -180 up to -200. You know, that's a pretty fair price on Hakeem Dawodu, giving Mike Trizano a little bit of respect. Alright, we've got a matchup between Julian Erosa taking on Steven Peterson. Man, to be honest, I've never been more confident in picking Julian Erosa. You know, I just kind of think that Julian Erosa has a better skill set, you know, more weapons. You know, Steven Peterson's a hard worker in terms of he's going to bite down on the mouthpiece and throw the punches. But when I'm thinking about the two styles inside the octagon, I think Julian Erosa is a better fighter. The only thing I would worry about in picking Julian Erosa is the chin. You know, the chin is a little bit dusty, just a little bit. So if Steven Peterson can find a well-timed punch, you know, set down Julian Erosa, then all the credit. But I think Julian Erosa has the cardio advantage, more weapons, arguably better movement, you know, just seems like a better striker than Steven Peterson. You know, and like I mentioned with the cardio, I think Julian Erosa has a higher output, more to offer as the fight goes on, you know what I'm trying to say? So the only way I can really see Steven Peterson winning this fight is dusting the chin of Julian Erosa. But if that doesn't happen, Juicy J most likely going to win this fight. So yeah, kind of confident. I'd put him around the -200, which is, you know, nearly 7 times out of 10, which is pretty good for Julian Erosa, to be honest. But the bookies have, what do the bookies have? They've got Julian Erosa -250. Okay. So even the bookies are like, yo, if you're going to try play Julian Erosa here, best believe you're going to overpay. Best believe you're going to sweat. And the only reason you're sweating is because of the chin. Because if the chin holds up, you know, he's going to beat Steven Peterson. He's a better striker, you know, just more well-rounded. But at -250, guys, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe in Julian Erosa enough to lay the money. Alright, we've got a matchup between Miles Johns taking on John Castaneda. Man, this is a pretty decent matchup. You know, looking at the work Miles Johns has done inside the UFC, it's been some nice work. You know, he started off on the Contender Series where he basically showed us, I can wrestle, I can box. put me in the UFC. His UFC debut wasn't the best, and then he kind of got obliterated a little bit by Mario Batista. But man, if you're looking at the last 2 performances Miles Johns has had, you know, it's been good stuff. You know, he basically made Kevin Natividad look like a slinky. You know, he really did, man. He looked like a slinky. And then you look at the performance against Anderson dos Santos, you know, slow cooked him. Slow cooked him. Guys, you know you got the hot pot where you put the food in, man, you slow cook it. That's really what Miles Johns done to Anderson dos Santos. But to finish off that slow cooking, you know, can we get a delivery of Shadow City? Miles Johns, yes sir. You know, sent Anderson dos Santos to Shadow City after a beautiful slow cooking. So yeah, man, I'm looking at the skill set of Miles Johns. Pretty impressive. Now the opponent, John Castaneda, 1 win, 1 loss inside the UFC. Had a really tough debut against Nathaniel Wood. You know, not a lot of people gave him a chance against Nathaniel, and rightfully so, because Nathaniel Wood, you know, pretty good fighter. But man, against Eddie Wineland, I have no idea how John Castaneda was an underdog. You know, he dusted him. You know, complete dusteration of a dosser. I'm gonna say it too, of a dosser. So man, I'm looking at this matchup and it's a good one, you know, both of these guys are going to throw down. And it really could be, you know, whose chin holds up, who finds that shot first. I don't think John Castaneda's going to go away. I could kind of see Miles Johns getting clipped and going away. But I can kind of see Miles Johns showing us a little bit of that wrestling too, which could help him win this fight, you know. It's going to be a close one on the feet. So yeah, if it's a close one on the feet and Miles Johns takes the fight to the mat, that could be the difference. It's a good one. I'm going to side with Miles Johns. I'd put Miles Johns around a minus 150 would be fair, you know, 60% probability. But what do the bookies say? The bookies percentage, you know, that's what matters. But checking what the bookies have to say. The bookies say over 70% on Miles Johns, minus 250. Man, I think we're priced out on Miles Johns. The only way you can really play Miles Johns minus 250 is if you give him a better chance than minus 250. I'm seeing Miles Johns more around the minus 150 against John Castaneda. You know, John Castaneda's got some hands, you know, this guy's going to throw down. So to put John Castaneda around plus 200, I think it's potentially dog or pass. Alright, my homies, you know what time it is, man. You know what time it is. Time for a smoke break. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's a triple amen, gang. Let's go. Hey, I hope you guys are doing well, doing blessed, having a good day, having a good week, man. Alright guys, so for the smoke break question, right, not the smoke break topic, but the smoke break question. Guys, some of you may laugh at me for this smoke break question because it has no relation to mixed martial arts, and it's kind of a weird question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Guys, in your opinion, did we really go to the moon? You know what I'm saying? In your opinion, did we really go to the moon? I know some people are laughing at the moment thinking, man, this is kind of close to flat earth. You know what I'm saying? Obviously the earth isn't flat, and for anyone that thinks it is, bro, come on. But the moon conspiracy, you know, maybe we didn't go to the moon, bro. But yeah, that's going to be my question, man. I'm going to ask you guys, did we really go to the moon? Because guys, think about it. If we went to the moon back in like 1960 or whatever it was, right? How come we can't go back in 2022? You know, we're more advanced now than what we was 50 years ago. It's a little bit weird to me. A little bit sus. You know what I'm trying to say? Guys, the smoke break topic on this one's going to be, you know, just continue to push P, you know what I'm trying to say? You guys might have heard a saying that's come around recently called pushing P. And pushing P, you know, a lot of people are still trying to figure out what this saying means. But I believe the saying is kind of like a, you know, like a positivity kind of thing. So you could say we've been pushing P on the smoke breaks for a couple years now. But yeah, that's going to be the smoke break topic, you know, continue to push P. So that means, man, if you're showing up every day, you got some wins and some losses in whatever you're trying to do, continue to show up. You know, it's like that Meek Mill song, wins and losses, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, realistically, you could say that anyone that refuses to give up in whatever they're trying to do in life, anyone that refuses to give up, you could say they're pushing P, you know what I'm saying? So amen to that. Continue to work towards your goals is what I'm trying to say. And if you continue to work, you're pushing P. You're pushing P, my G. Let's go. Alright guys, this is my Patreon for anyone that wants all of my bets on this UFC card. And the Discord group, you know, the Discord group, man, pushing P, what can I say? You know, there's NBA betting, NFL betting, a lot of UFC, crypto, just a good vibe. So if you are somebody that joins the Patreon, be sure to also join the Discord. Alright, my homies, let's get into breaking down this main card. Let's go. Let's push P. Alright guys, we've got a matchup between Danilo Marques taking on Jailton Almeida, I believe is the pronunciation. Hopefully I got that one right. But yeah, this is a pretty decent matchup. I'm liking the matchup more for Almeida than I am Marques. And the reasons for that, purely because I think Almeida has way more to offer from a striking standpoint. If you look at what Marques has done inside the UFC, you know, it's mainly grappling. And that's because he's a jiu-jitsu player, you know, he's trying to take the opponent to the mat. Then from there, it's all about showing, look, I'm going to out-grapple you. I'm going to use my BJJ. But Almeida has a pretty good game too when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And to be honest, he might be the better wrestler. So if Marques chooses to clinch him up, you know, tries to drag the fight to the mat, Almeida might just show him, look, I'm better here. Almeida might just show him, look, I can out-grapple you. You know, you're trying to take me to the mat. Let me throw you to the mat. You know what I'm trying to say? So yeah, I am liking this matchup way more for Almeida. You know, the teeps to the body, the low kicks, the better boxing, the striking's way better on Almeida's side. And I'm not too sure that Marques is going to be able to impose the grappling the way he has been able to. You know, against Hadis Ibrahimov, he was able to grapple. Against Mike Rodriguez, able to grapple. You know, Kennedy Zachukwi was able to win the fight, but you do have to admit that Marques was able to grapple again. But this time against Almeida, you know, I'm not too sure the grappling's going to be so effective. And that's purely because you've got a guy who is a pretty good grappler too. So yeah, I'm liking Almeida for the prediction this time. And I think there's a pretty good chance that Almeida maybe finds a stoppage, you know, round 1, round 2. So yeah, my prediction's going to be Almeida. And I'm pretty high on him too, so maybe 8 times out of 10. And the bookies have Almeida minus 400. So yeah, man, even the bookies are like, you know, checkmate. There's a checkmate in this fight. And that's basically that Almeida's going to be able to grapple. Whereas all of Marquez's previous opponents weren't so ready to grapple. And if there's a checkmate, that means Marques has to strike. And what I've seen so far, the striking nowhere near as good as the grappling. So yeah, Almeida, I think, is the logical prediction. Alright, we've got a matchup between Jason Witt taking on Phillip Rowe. Somewhat of a difficult prediction to make. And the reasons why it's going to be a difficult prediction, it's always going to come down to who can impose their will. Pretty much every matchup comes down to that. But yeah, I think for Jason Witt, if he can implement the wrestling, he's got a decent chance. But on the flip side, when you look at Phillip Rowe with the height advantage, the reach advantage, you know, he's got 10 inches of reach on Jason Witt. So yeah, man, if Phillip Rowe can just stick to striking, just look to continuously touch the chin of Jason Witt. And you got to remember, Jason Witt kind of got the dusty chin, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if Phillip Rowe can just continue to strike, pop the jab, pop the boxing combination, he might find a TKO against Jason Witt. But the flip side would be Jason Witt imposing the wrestling. You know, Jason Witt potentially has the advantage when it comes to wrestling. You know, if this matchup happened 10 times or even 100 times, I think it's pretty close to being a 50-50 matchup. You know, a lot of the time, Phillip Rowe is going to dust the chin of Jason Witt. He's going to send this guy to Shadow City. But a lot of the time, Jason Witt's going to, you know, go underneath that jab. He's going to level change at the right time. And if he can level change at the right time, he collects the single leg, gets the fight to the mat. You know, he could win with that wrestling performance. It's a pretty decent matchup, guys, and if you put a gun to my head and I had to make a prediction, I'd pick Phillip Rowe to win this fight. Not because I'm super confident that he can, it's more to do with Jason Witt having the dusty chin, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, my prediction's going to be Phillip Rowe. I hope he can keep it striking, you know, because that's where he's going to win this fight. But yeah, my numbers, I'd put Phillip Rowe around minus 130. But the actual numbers, we've got Phillip Rowe coming in minus 160, minus 170. So yeah, the bookies kind of asking you to spend a little bit of money on the Phillip Rowe line. And obviously, if you've got Jason Witt at plus money and you're leaning that way, you ain't got to go too crazy. But yeah, good matchup, pretty 50-50. Alright, next matchup, we've got Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Chidi Njokuani, I believe is the pronunciation. So starting with Chidi. right? This guy came from the Contender series, and what you want to do on the Contender is get a stoppage, and that's exactly what Chidi done, right? You get a stoppage on the Contender, you're probably going to get a contract. Now, going back and rewatching that fight, the one thing that I noticed about Chidi was the kicking ability. You know, this guy is really trying to kick you, and you know that because when you watch him fight, you can see the feints. You know, the feints are coming from the hip, almost similar to like an Israel Adesanya. You know, when you see Israel Adesanya faking that hip movement, you know, he's basically saying to the opponent, the kick is coming, you know, I'm just going to fake you a little bit, but it's coming. Almost like a Chikadze as well, you know, Chikadze loves to do that. But yeah, that's one thing I noticed with Chidi Njokwani, you know, he's faking the kick. You know, you could say that Chidi is a better striker than Marc-Andre Barrios. I think that would be fair to say. But speaking about power bar, Marc-Andre, guys, would it be fair to say that Marc-Andre is like a Canadian Sean Strickland? Can you see the similarities? You know, what Marc-Andre is primarily looking to do is basically fight at a higher pace. And that pretty much means, you know, I'm going to stay on you. As you move around the octagon, I'm going to stay on you and we're going to fight at a higher pace. You know, not giving you time to breathe, you know, just looking to fatigue the opponent. Just a gritty performance. Marc-Andre is not super technically gifted, but you can tell this guy is a hard worker. You know, the cardio's good. And he's looking to fight at his advantage. Similar to like a Sean Strickland, you know, good cardio, looking to push a pace, looking to break the opponent. That's what Marc-Andre is looking to do. So if Chidi slows down at some point in round 2, Marc-Andre is gonna, you know, at that point you step it up a gear. You know, if we've been going the whole time gear 2 and you're starting to slow down now, I'm gonna up it a gear and I'm gonna try to break you. That's ultimately what Marc-Andre is looking to do inside the octagon, and he's been pretty good at doing that recently. The only times that Marc-Andre hasn't won inside the octagon was basically when he was grappled a little bit. But even the grappling exchanges against Daucha Langwambula, you know, you can see the improvements in the game of Marc-Andre. So that's why I believe this one's a pretty difficult prediction, because Marc-Andre has evolved and he's starting to implement his style inside the UFC. On the flip side, you've got arguably a better striker in Chidi Njokwani, but my question is going to be, can Chidi continue to fight at a higher pace? You know, this is a pretty difficult debut for Chidi, so I'm going to side with the UFC tested guy, Marc-Andre Barrios. You know, if he fights at a higher pace, looks to push Chidi against the fence, maybe he can grapple in this type of fight. You know, you want to take away the kicks of Chidi, and if he slows down, that's where you want to up it a gear. Yeah, so my prediction's going to be that Marc-Andre fights at a higher pace and maybe breaks the opponent. So I'd take Marc-Andre, but I would keep the odds pretty close. I'd price Marc-Andre around -130, maybe -150. And the bookies have both of these guys -110, -115. So the bookies are saying, you know, this is a really good matchup. Pick a side if you dare. And to that, you know, I might pick a side, might lay some money on this one. It's a good matchup. Alright, I believe this is the co-main event, might be wrong, but we've got a matchup between Punahele Soriano taking on Nick Maximov. Man, for anyone that doesn't know who Nick Maximov is, and you know, we're all still learning about this guy at this moment, but this guy's from the Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz Academy. You know, he's friends with the Diaz brothers. So ultimately what that means is he most likely likes to smoke weed, he probably does triathlons, he probably eats vegetables, and he likes jiu-jitsu. This guy is pretty good at jiu-jitsu. You know, ultimately this guy is trying to replicate what the Diaz brothers are all about, you know. He's about that life. Now the opponent on the flip side, Punahele Soriano, this guy is pretty good. You know, you want to be careful trading punches with Punahele Soriano, man, because this guy can sleep you. If Punahele Soriano can just strike, good chance he wins the fight. Really good chance he wins this fight. On the flip side, you know, of course, if Nick Maximov can say, listen, I've been training jiu-jitsu with the Diaz brothers, let's go to the mat. If Nick Maximov can do that, you know, try to wrap him up, try to fold him up, you know what I'm trying to say? If he can do that, good chance he wins the fight. For me, guys, my prediction, I'm going to side with Punahele Soriano. And one of the main reasons why I'm going to do that, I don't think Nick Maximov has the striking ability to really fatigue Punahele Soriano. You know, he's got to go in straight away for the grappling. And if you're not putting anything behind it, ultimately you're going to telegraph what you're doing in there. You've got to hide your weapon. It's like Dan Hardy explained, there's games inside of games. I'm not sure that Nick Maximov has the game to beat Punahele Soriano. Now, if I'm wrong and he can somehow get the fight to the mat, maybe he can show us, look, I have got the game, you know, the Diaz brothers are setting me up. But my prediction, guys, I'm going to side with Punahele Soriano. I believe he's more well-rounded. Maybe doesn't have the same level of jiu-jitsu, but when it comes to firing Shadow City punches, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to that, Punahele Soriano is super dangerous. So yeah, I'm going to say he avoids the mat and ultimately pieces up Nick Maximov. So that's going to be my prediction. I'll take Punahele Soriano. And I'm going to price Puna around 70%. So we'll say minus 220. And the bookies have minus 190, minus 200 on Punahele Soriano. So yeah, I think the betting line's pretty fair on this one. You'd have to make Puna the favourite purely because he's got more to offer. We know what Nick Maximov has. He has the jiu-jitsu. But if that's all you're offering in this type of matchup, I've got to go with the more well-rounded fighter. And that's going to be Puna. Alright my homies, main event. If you've enjoyed the breakdown, please go ahead, Hamzat, smash the like button, always appreciated. And of course man, if you don't want to use like the Hamzat smash, you can use your own techniques. The Hamzat is just like it's like a tutorial guide, you know. You start off with the Hamzat and then maybe evolve to different techniques. Anyway, this main event, Jack Hermansson taking on Sean Strickland. Guys, what I really like about this main event, the one thing I really like, both of these guys are madmen. You know what I'm saying? They're madmen. You know, you've only got to look at Jack Hermansson getting warmed up for a fight. You know, this guy's a crazy guy. Both of these guys are madmen. And that's one thing I like about this matchup. Because when you've got a madman taking on another madman, that makes for a good fight, you know, entertainment high on this main event. Now looking at the styles, I know most people listening to the breakdown already understand the styles of both of these guys. But if you're just getting into like mixed martial arts, UFC and all of that, Jack Hermansson, this guy's a wrestler, you know, looking to take down the opponent, looking to maul him. And to be honest man, Jack Hermansson has done a lot of that in his UFC career. You know, he's made a living out of it, you know, taking the opponent to the mat. From there, I'm going to smash ya. You know, Jack Hermansson was doing the Hamzat smash before Hamzat was even a thing. Now on the other side of the octagon, Sean Strickland, he's not about the wrestling type life. He's about the I'm gonna stay in your face, pop you with a jab type life. So you've got a wrestler versus a boxer. Now if the wrestler's made to be in the boxer's world, the boxer's going to look great. And vice versa, you know, if you take the boxer and put the boxer in the wrestler's world, the wrestler's going to look great. So again, it's going to come down to who can impose their will. Now, I'm not disputing the fact that Jack Hermansson can't take Sean Strickland to the mat. I do believe Jack Hermansson can take him to the mat. The question I have is, can he continue to take Sean Strickland to the mat? Because if he can't continue to take him to the mat, ultimately, now you are left in a boxing type fight. We've seen with Jack Hermansson that he's not the most comfortable in a striking battle. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you start to tee off on Jack Hermansson, when you start to land your shot, he kind of crumbles, you know what I'm saying? And that's ultimately because he's not really a striker. This guy's a wrestler. So yeah, guys, I do believe Jack Hermansson will be able to get Sean Strickland to the mat, but I'm not sure he can do it round in, round out, which ultimately is going to lead me to make the prediction that Sean Strickland wins this fight, wins this main event. You know, Sean Strickland is just going to pop that jab. He's going to pop that jab and find the target multiple times. When you picture both of these guys inside the octagon for 25 minutes, like I said, I do believe Jack Hermansson can get it to the mat, have good moments, but ultimately I think it's going to be more boxing that outweighs the wrestling of Jack Hermansson. So yeah guys, this main event, super sick. Both of these guys are crazy men. I just lean more towards the boxing of Sean Strickland than I do the wrestling of Jack Hermansson. Yeah, my numbers on this one, I'd put Sean Strickland at least a minus 200. And the bookies have minus 200 up to minus 250 on Sean Strickland. You know, you can't really argue with it too much. It's a good main event. You know, I'm looking forward to this one. As always, my homies, drop down who you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, parlays, singles, all of that good stuff in the comment section below. And yeah, guys, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Mac Miller, take cold showers, drink water. Alright, peace.